Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Cryptid Chronicles. This is your host, Ryan Edwards, and I want to say sorry for coming to you on a Sunday morning. Uh, I've just been busy recently. I've had a full schedule, but I want to make sure I bring you guys an episode today. And sorry about missing the episode last week, too. And for the next couple of weeks, it's a possibility we probably won't have as many guests on as usual because holidays and all that, people, their schedules get a little busier, and that's understandable. So what I want to do for the next couple of weeks is bring guys content, but it'd be based on primarily my book. So different cryptids seen around the world. Like as you can see, the title of this episode is "Cryptids of the World," and that's my title. That's the book I've written. So today's episode, I'm gonna be referencing about two or three different cryptids from every continent around the world, except for Antarctica because there's not many cryptids seen down there. So hopefully you guys will enjoy this content. This will be probably going on for the next couple of weeks. I'm trying to get on a guest on for next, actually maybe even tomorrow. So hopefully you guys are enjoying it. If you guys are here live, go in the chat. I'm always seeing some people. Hey, my man, good to see you. So let's start this off. And of course, the first cryptids I'll be referencing is from North America. And North America, of course, has a litany of different cryptids seen here. We have, of course, Sasquatch, Thunderbirds, Champ, Dogman, all these different cryptids. But I want to try to bring cryptids that are a little more unknown, a little more rarely seen. One cryptid that actually really has been seen in recent years is the Onza. The Onza is a cryptic feline seen in mostly the American Southwest and parts of Mexico. Anza usually means golden cat in the Aztec language because the first people to reference this creature were actually Aztecs, which were the native groups of Central America, primarily the Yucatan Peninsula and the middle of Mexico. Then also the Mayans referenced a large golden colored cat as well, and the Mayans were primarily found along the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. So this was a golden colored cat that was supposedly about the same size as a cougar or a puma, but a lot more vicious than one. It was usually seen in usually just one single cat at one time. It was being seen as more vicious and more dangerous as even a jaguar. And jaguar is the third largest cat in the world, only second to lions and tigers. And even Emperor Montezuma of the Aztec Empire supposedly had an onza in his zoo, and this was seen as very prestigious because this was an animal that really wasn't captured a lot because of its ferocity and viciousness. And this is actually a cryptid that a lot of people classify as a former cryptid because in 1838 and 1986, supposedly onzas were killed in the American Southwest in Sinaloa and also in Sinaloa. So with these bodies, we can see that these creatures are actually very similar to both jaguars and Felis concula, or the mountain lion. And actually, an interesting fact: Puma ansa, which is the Latin name for jaguars, actually comes from Onza. It's Puma Ansa, Onca, which of course comes from Onza, Onza. Kind of interesting little fact there. But this Onza might be a subspecies of cougar that might have been become extinct because there's no longer sightings of it, or it might be what we call it. Some people might speculate it might be related to Myrconix. A Myrconix, or the American cheetah, was a prehistoric cat that was indigenous to Pleistocene North America. And even though it's called the American cheetah, it was actually more closely related to mountain lion. It was just called the American cheetah because it was slim and fast and very similar to modern day African cheetahs. So maybe the Anza was part of this family. Another cryptid that's actually more famous here in North America is seen up in British Columbia, Canada, is Ogopogo. Ogopogo is seen in Lake Okanagan. The Native American tribes referenced a lake demon or a lake dragging in this lake for thousands of years. And it wasn't until the settlers came over, primarily French settlers, came to Lake Okanagan and started seeing a strange creature in the lake. They usually describe a large eel about 40 to 50 feet long, dark color, usually black or maybe even dark brown, with supposed humps on its back. They see this large shape crossing the lake usually at times. People on boats usually reference maybe even like wakes on a lake. Like when you splash water and there's wakes on the lake, but there's nothing there to be seen. No boat, no log, anything like that. So they say it's this creature, the Ogopogo. A lot of cryptozoologists believe it's some type of a giant eel 40 to 50 feet long. And interesting thing about this cryptid is that this cryptid isn't the only one seen or uh, seen in Canada. There's also Igopogo and Manipogo and all these other cryptids seen up there in Canada, which have very similar descriptions. Hey guys, I see you. Hey Dennis, hey Brown Dwarf, it's good to see you guys. And with this, so we think maybe all these cryptids that are seen up in Canada might be the same species, maybe. These very similar descriptions, but it's as of right now, of course, it's still an unknown species. So what Ogopogo, it's kind of the one that's been referenced the most because it's the one that has the most name reference to it. And even in 1968, a man named Art Folan supposedly took a video of a large animal in the lake, showing to be almost like a log. A lot of people thought it was a log, but it's moving across the lake against the tide. So whatever this is, it's animate in some way. And even a famous cryptozoologist called Sugar, Dr. Carl Sugar, classifies this creature as maybe a mini humped sea serpent because Bernard Hoovermans, the father of cryptozoology, had different classifications for different type of sea monsters or lake monsters. And Carl Sugar classifies this creature as a mini humped sea serpent, pretty much. And then that's North America. So let's go down to South America now. South America, of course, known for its lush jungles, mix of habitats. It has mountains of the Andes on the western coast of South America. You have the tropical rainforest, the largest rainforest that ever exists. The Brazilian rainforest is right down there with the Amazon. So there's many strange and peculiar creatures seen in South America. One the one that has kind of a reference to North America is El Sesamite or Sisamite. This means diviner in a native language, which you in diviner to them usually means forest man or forest person. So that can only kind of get us an idea what this creature is seen like. It's kind of the Sasquatch of Central America, primarily seen in parts of like Honduras, Uruguay, parts of Nicaragua, Mexico, and seen in the mountains out there. And this creature is supposedly between 6 to 8 feet tall, covered in brown to black hair, no tail, very dark colored, supposedly very vicious and very. It kidnaps people, it kills men, it kills farm animals, things like that. It's kind of the stories of the gorillas of Africa. A lot of native tribes in Africa would reference the gorillas as men stealers, or like animals that would kidnap people and then take them into the mountains. So maybe the Sesamite is doing the same. Is seen to do the same thing, and now we know, of course, gorillas don't do this behavior. So could this just be kind of uh, some type of maybe fear generated by just the unknown? I'm not sure. So with this Sesamite, one of the sightings were very much usually during the 1800s and 1900s, especially when the late 1800s, first re- uh, first Westerners saw this creature, primarily gold prospectors and people looking for farms, things like that. But in the latest sightings of this creature, that on record at least, it happened in 1927 in Honduras. So due to that being the latest sighting, a lot of people suspect this creature might maybe either be very, very rare or maybe even extinct. It just all depends on the researcher you talk to. Some people still say there are still sightings and supposedly people that have heard this creature. People supposedly hear weird, strange hoops and whistles in the night, and this supposedly is a el sesamite. And then that's only one cryptid that's seen in South America. Another one that, of course, I'm trying to make sure there's some variety here, is the lobozon. Lobozon, of course, means man wolf in Spanish. Lobo means wolf. Zon means like changer or man. And this is supposedly the werewolf legend of South America, primarily Brazil, Paraguay, and Uruguay. The story goes with the Lobozon, it's not like the Western idea of werewolves that if you get bit by a werewolf or something like that, you will be turned into one. Supposedly, the Lobozon curse is a blood curse. If you are the seventh son in the family of only boys, you will be turned into a Lobozon on every full moon. So in Brazil and the parts of South America, if there is a seventh son born, there's been instances of people putting that child up for adoption or even just abandoning the child because there's fear of the lobozone. And the lobozone is usually described as a large wolf or dog, usually about the size of a calf to maybe even the size of just a regular dog. Usually the red colored fur with black patches along its back and its legs. And it's a very kind of passive animal if you think about it. Most witnesses describe it as mostly attacking livestock like chickens, usually maybe roosters, goats, but nothing really large. And there's not many references of this creature attacking people. Primarily just farm animals. And with the Lobozone legend, there's many people that say they can turn into a Lobozone on on command almost. And this is something we see in werewolf legends out in Europe during the medieval period. But with the Lobozone, of course, it's just more modern. And some researchers believe there might be an explanation for this creature. There is a native canine that not a lot of people really know about there. It's called the maned wolf. The maned wolf is a fairly large, it's the largest canine in South America. It has long legs, usually brown, usually orange to red fur, with a black streak down its back and black fur on its legs. And the maned wolf is very known for its what they call a scream bark or like a bark howl. It's a very unique sound. So if you look up maned wolf bark howl, it's a sound that you don't really expect any type of canine to make. So some people believe that this maned wolf is going into new areas because its native habitats have been being destroyed. It lives primarily in savanna habitats in South America. And some people believe because it's being forced out of these areas, it's been found in Brazil, Paraguay, and Uruguay and now that's where the legend of the Lobozon comes from. So it's a very interesting cryptid seen in South America. Now let's go across the pond, across the Atlantic to Europe. Europe has a long, long history. People have been there for thousands of years. There's stories of dragons, sea monsters, uh, angels, demons, all the type of mythological creatures seen in Europe. But with our studies, of course, we talk about cryptids. Uh, with cryptids, these are more modern stories. And in Europe, one of the most modern cryptids seen now is called the alien big cat phenomenon. Alien big cats are cats that are of known species, usually panthers or leopards or whatever, but seen outside their natural habitat, hence the word alien. Like how if something was extraterrestrial outside of Earth, it's alien. These are just alien big cats. There's multiple different names for them, especially in England. There's the beast of Exmoor, the beast of Bodmin Moor, the Surrey Puma, the Cornwall Phantom, all these different names for black cats, primarily seen in England. Let's just go down the line. The Surrey Puma was one of the first creatures seen in England. It was primarily seen in Surrey, England in the 1950s. People would describe a large black cat about the size of a Doberman to maybe a Newfoundland dog roaming the moors at night. There was even one story of a cop car going out there and looking for this creature, and they had a large black cat jump onto their hood and then off and slinked off into the woods. And of course, a lot of people say, well, this is just a misidentification of dogs, or people are just getting scared at night. But if you look at canines and felines, they both move very differently. You can tell when a dog's running and you can tell when a cat's running. Cats have a lot more sleeker motion, a lot more smoother motion. You really don't see the back move a lot. You see kind of a loping when they run. But dogs, it's a lot more almost choppier in a way. It's not as smooth as a cat. And with these alien big cats, there's multiple sightings. The Beast of Exmoor, for instance, is primarily by in central England, and this was seen primarily in the 70s. Then later on in the 80s in Cornwall, England, in a place called Bodmin Moor, you had a Beast of Bodmin Moor, and all these large black cats seen across the UK, and a lot of people wonder what's the origins of these creatures. And some believe uh, it's these are actually known species, but what we call invasive species. And that's because in 1976, the United Kingdom created the Dangerous Wild Animals Act. Because in the 70s, it was actually very common to have large, dangerous animals as pets, as exotic pets. Like you could walk into a pet store instead of buying a puppy or a kitten, you could buy a jaguar, a mountain lion, or a cheetah. It was a very common occurrence in the UK in the 70s. So just imagine walking down the street with someone walking a tiger on a leash. Kind of a scary situation there. And in 1976, England did make it outwardly illegal to own these animals, but they made it with a lot more regulations. For instance, they would have taxes put on them. They would have to have closures that are the right size and shape. They had to have certain meals, the right type of food, and all these things put into place. So a lot of owners, instead of wanting to pay for this, they released the animals into the wild. And a lot of these animals that got released into the wild kind of found a environment to survive in. There was plenty of deer and sheep and livestock for them to feed on. So some have speculated that this might become a breeding population into the modern day. So possibly even till today, there's a breeding population of large cats in the United Kingdom. Even though others believe it might just be a couple escapees, there's no interbreeding, and it's just simply a bunch of cats that live in the UK without a stable population. And of course, a stable population needs 50 to 500 individuals. It needs to have genetic variation. It needs to have a mix of breeds, a mix of genes, and maybe we would see that within these cats seen in the United Kingdom. Now, if we go to mainland Europe, there's another kind of a famous cryptid that's seen in Europe, but it's famous there. Not really many people have heard of it here in the United States, called the Tatzelrum or Tatzelrum. So Tatzelworm means legged worm in, I believe, Germanic languages. And this was supposedly a large lizard or salamander-like creature seen in the European Alps, primarily Switzerland, Germany, Italy, parts of Spain, uh, parts of France, and primarily the Alps in the mountains. The description of this creature was kind of strange. They described it as sausage-like, so like long and cylinder-shaped, with four stubby little legs, no real tail, and a cat-like head with scales running down its back and covering the whole body. And these stories of this creature goes back hundreds of years. One of the first recorded sightings occurred in 1779 by Hans Fuchs in uh, in the Alps in Switzerland. He described a large black creature with a cat-like head, a long body, full legs, and scales running down its back. Later sightings would occur in the 1800s and early 1900s. One of the latest sightings of the creature happened in 2009 in Switzerland. There were sightings of a large lizard in the Alpine Mountains out in Switzerland in 2009. Some believe this creature could be a form of unknown salamander, some type of monitor lizard, or even what we call a Gila monster. Here in the American Southwest, we have a creature called the Gila monster. It's a poisonous lizard that is kind of very similar to what they describe as a tattoo. Kind of short, stubby body, kind of a rounded head, and a very long body. And it's supposedly poisonous, which the taxiworm is also supposedly poisonous as well venomous. So possibly there's a correlation between the Gila monster here in North America and the supposed taxiworm of Europe. But because there hasn't been a lot of sightings of the taxiworm in recent history, some have speculated that it might be extinct by now, or at least so rare we really don't see it anymore. Now that's Europe. If we go a little down south from Europe, cross the Mediterranean Sea, we enter Africa, and Africa is very much a wild continent as of now. Has the most megafaunal species of any other continent. You have elephants, you have giraffes, you have dozens of species of gazelle, you have water buffalo, you have wildebeest, you have zebra, you have a menagerie of large predators, including lions and leopards, hyenas. You have animals like hippos, rhinos, and supposedly a litany of other large animals seen in Africa that are not yet recognized by science. One large cat that supposedly seen in Africa is the Morosi. The Morosi is a supposedly a spotted lion seen in eastern Africa, primarily in the Alberdares Mountains in eastern Africa. It's described as about the size of a lion, looks pretty much exactly like a maneless female lion, but with spots down its body. And of course, lions, when they're juveniles, when they're cubs, do have spots. It helps them hide in the long grass and in cover. So, with modern cryptozoologists, this Morosi is actually, a lot of people believe it's already a known species. It's just a subvariant of lion that maybe has a different ecomorph than regular savanna lions that are primarily found in savannas and open habitats. Maybe these spots help them hide in these more mountainous areas. And something that actually helps support the Borosi is the Barbary lions. The Barbary lions of North Africa, of course, are a now extinct subspecies of lion, were primarily found in mountains. And these Barbary lions usually were smaller in group. They weren't in these large couple dozen lion prides, but they were usually maybe in like a group of five or six. So we can show that lions, when they go into mountainous areas, get smaller usually, a little bit smaller in size and also smaller in groups because just the lack of food. So it's kind of interesting how the Morosi also demonstrates this characteristic. Another animal that's seen out in Africa that's unknown to science, but one that flies above your head, is the kikion. The kikion is a unknown owl seen in eastern Africa. People describe it as an owl that's gray to black in color, that's the size of a human, with about a 10 to 12-foot wingspan. So truly a terrifying creature to see, especially at night. And it has a very unique sounding vocalization at night. That when people hear it, it's kind of a omen of death or omen of bad will. So like you immediately go home and try to get inside because that's when the Kikion is out. There's correlations between the Kikion and the native stories of demons in that area. A lot of cultures in Africa see owls as messengers of the dead or even as demons themselves. So this Kikion, being so large, is seen as a more almost demonic figure in native stories. But to many, it's just a unknown owl. Maybe it's a large species of owl, but still an unknown, but still a species of owl, not something supernatural or strange like that. So the Kikion, it's a giant owl seen in Africa. Would it be dangerous? It probably would be dangerous, possibly dangerous to people, especially with owls being predators, being raptors. Maybe this creature would be able to pick up larger animals. Maybe not gazelle or something like that, but maybe larger rabbits, large rodents, things like that. But we just kind of a peculiar ecological niche, especially with all the other creatures seen in parts of Africa. And now, if we go over to Asia, Asia also has a number of unknown creatures seen in it, primarily unknown hominoids. Unknown hominoids that vary from the Yeti, the Yeren, the Batutu, the Ngoni Rung, but one that doesn't get a lot of airtime, you can say, is the Baramanu. The Baramanu is a human-like primate seen in the mountains of Pakistan and parts of Afghanistan. And multiple language groups in that area, multiple cultures reference the Baramanu. The Shina, the Hinku, and the Kashmiri people and language ethnic groups reference a large, unknown, human like creature covered in fur roaming the mountains. And actually, this cryptid has had actual zoologists look for it in the past. Out in 1987 and 1990, Dr. Jordi Magranauer, a Spanish zoologist, looked for the bear manu in parts of Pakistan. And again in 1992, Dr. M. Marcelingo looked for the bear manu out in parts of Pakistan. Bear manu is pretty much seen as like another Bigfoot-like creature, but some people reference it as being even more human-like. It has a projecting brow, usually covered in brown to black fur, large feet, human-like hands. Usually described as maybe getting 6 to 7 feet tall at most. Not as large as the Sasquatch seen in North America. Sasquatch seen in North America like 7 to 8 feet tall. So something very human. Some even reference this creature can use tools and fire and have almost a culture and language. So to some people believe that this bear manu might actually be a surviving human species, like Neanderthal or the newly discovered Denisovan that was only discovered a couple decades ago. So it's possible that species of maybe human, maybe like the Denisovans or Neanderthal, have been able to survive in the wilds and mountainous areas of Pakistan, Afghanistan, parts of India, and these are what these bear manu are. Another cryptid that's seen in Asia, that's in Southeast Asia, is the Ahul. On the island of Java, there is a large winged creature roaming the skies. Usually, people describe it as a giant bat with a 6 to 10 foot wingspan, usually with black fur and supposedly a monkey-like face. This giant bat supposedly lives in the caves along rivers, primarily under waterfalls. And at night, it comes out, eats fish, can hunt small animals, and also eats fruit. So it's an omnivore of some sort. While most while most bats are actually either insectivores or frugivores. They apparently eat fruit like the flying fox. Flying fox is the largest known bat, but its wingspan barely gets to 6 feet, about 6 feet. But this ahul is almost twice the size, and it gets its name from the supposed vocalization it makes. The native stories of the ahul reference it making it sound like ahul when it flies, since the name ahul. And that's something also very peculiar because no other bat is really known to make a sound like that. Like free-tailed bats here in Texas, they make almost like a screeching sound, but it's so low you can barely hear it. But what people describe as the hool making is very unbat-like. So that's kind of the weird thing with this supposed giant bat seen in Java. And of course, there's many other giant bats supposedly seen around the world, parts of Madagascar, parts of the United States, South America, Africa. So this phenomenon is very common across the world. And now, since we got to Java, we can go a little bit south of there to the continent of Australia, the good old outback, land down under. Land down under is, of course, a very wild continent. It has all types of animals that would want to kill you. Even the kangaroo, which looks so cute and cuddly, it has the ability to disembowel you with its feet, with its long claws. So let's see what else wants to kill you, but is just unknown to science. One of the major cryptids seen down there is the yowie. The yowie is described as like the Bigfoot of Australia. It's primarily seen in the Blue Mountains along the eastern coast of Australia. This is a very more jungle forested environment. This creature is described between 6 to 8 feet tall, covered in dark fur, usually black to brown. It's very seen as more vicious as the North American Sasquatch. This creature, supposedly, people have referenced it killing kangaroos, killing goats, and using long claws, which is something very peculiar because us primates don't have claws, we have nails. There's no known really primate that really has claws, but people describe this creature as using them. I believe that the Yaoi could be maybe a form of hominoid, maybe like we know hominins have gotten to Australia before, but of course humans have. The Aborigines have been there for over 16,000 years. So if we look at, let's just say above Australia, there's creatures like Homo florentiensis and uh, Homo luzonensis on Luzon. So we know humans have gotten to Southeast Asia via boats onto these islands. So what if one of these creatures have gotten to Australia before modern Homo sapiens did? And then with the other creatures around Australia, with these megafaunal species, maybe they got larger and became what we now know as the Yowie. So that is a possibility, but we just really don't know for sure. Another creature that is of giant proportions, of supposedly seen in Australia, that is actually known to science, this is a known species, is Megalania. Megalania means ancient giant butcher. It's a large goanna species that was seen in Pleistocene Australia. Usually got maybe 10 to 50 feet long. This is about double the size of a Komodo dragon. This is truly a giant lizard that, if you saw, you would have thought it was a real life dragon. And this is primarily seen in the outback nowadays. And supposedly, this creature went extinct 10,000 years ago during the Pleistocene. But people still reference seeing it into the modern day. People describe seeing giant lizard tracks at about that size. Or one story goes, a man was out hiking out in the outback, and he got to this supposed log, and he sat on it, and then he was looking across the trail, and there was this log he was looking at that was kind of weird. Then the log stands up and walks away to show you the size of this animal. And he gets freaked out. And he's like, "What? Why was that? That wasn't a log. That was a giant lizard." And there's no giant lizards that size native to Australia. Of course, you have goannas, but goannas don't even get more than 5 feet long. And people are referencing a lizard almost 20 feet long. So many people think that a megalania may still exist out in parts of Australia. And maybe it feeds upon like the kangaroos and maybe even cattle and sheep that people have imported into that country. So it's a possibility there is a small population of megalania that still do exist in parts of the outback and rugged, remote areas of Australia. And now we come to one of the ice continent itself, Antarctica. Antarctica, of course, has no really indigenous species, at least not terrestrial. But it does have at least one cryptid story, at least I know of. And I really don't classify it as a cryptid, but it's kind of a fun thing to end this video off with. It's the Ningen. Supposedly, Japanese whalers and Japanese sailors out in the Antarctic waters reference the Ningen. Ningen supposedly is a mix of human and whale. People describe it as being white in color, usually like a sphere with human legs and human arms coming out of it, with a human-like face, or even as a whale, but with human-like characteristics. These Nengen supposedly haunt the waters, sometimes come out on land, walk around. That's when these Japanese whalers see these creatures. But it has been proven that these Nengen are not real and are just kind of figments of, well, Japanese internet creators and whaling stories and just urban legend. Very similar to like the modern day rake or goat man here in North America. This is just a more or less a creepy pasta that's become what we call a cryptid, that's become the cryptid. This isn't a real species, this isn't a real cryptid, but it's more or less it's a folklore, this modern legend. And it happens a lot of times in cryptozoology. These supposed stories on the internet or in books become cryptids because people might think they see them in real life, things like that. It's like how people think they see Slenderman or see the Rake. These are creatures from the internet and from stories that we know are not true. But then people see them supposedly in real life. So that kind of makes us question stuff like that's not a real animal. How are you seeing it? It's just kind of a weird phenomenon. But with cryptozoology, it is about real life species. Most of the species I've referenced here today have thought to exist or may exist into the modern day still, and are still extant and contemporary with us. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. It's kind of a tour of monsters seen around the world, a modern day bestiary. And I'm hoping maybe next week what I might try to do is a more focused video on the continents around the world. Maybe a video on North America, then a video on Africa, a video on cryptids in Europe. Because cryptozoology really is a interesting topic. And I do want to say sorry about like spotty uploads and time constrained videos. I know these are not the best quality. I am sorry about that, guys. Because I have a busy schedule. I'm working on several projects now that I'm hoping to try to talk to you guys pretty soon about. One maybe including a documentary, maybe, and of course working on my second book. So once these projects are being worked on, I will let you guys know. I'm going to try to keep uploading on a regular schedule for you guys. But heck, I've said that before, and I've not. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna try my best to keep uploads on here, keep the channel going because we are growing a little bit, which I am appreciative of. People are bringing their eyeballs to here, which is awesome. So, if you guys are out there watching this video, please like the video if you guys enjoy this content. Leave a comment down below. Talk to me if you guys have any ideas on what to do or have maybe even sightings yourselves. Please get in contact with me. I'd be very appreciative. And if you can, if you have some time, please share out this video. This is still a small channel. I don't even have 20 videos out, and I'm trying to grow this brand. I'm trying to grow this channel here. So if you can share this out to your friends, share it out to people that might be interested in it, that'd be awesome. Because I'm hoping to try to get to maybe 200 subscribers by hopefully the end of November. Because I'm trying to keep the upload schedule good and regular. So if you guys can, please subscribe, like, and share out this video. I really do appreciate that. So I do hope you guys have a good rest of your day and rest of your weekend, wherever you are. Hope you're doing okay. It's good to be here on the Crypto Chronicles. So have a good day, everyone, and thanks for coming.